nervous. Okay, we continue the Rambam. We're in the introduction to the Paris of Mishnayos. In the Rambam La'am, we're on page Samaches, 6 lines from the top. In the Sefiria, section 16, subsection 27. We're in the middle of discussing the idea of the Agadata Gemaras, the drushos, so to speak, of the Gemara, the riddles of the Gemara, things that are said that most people can't understand. And the Rambam is saying the reason you can't understand it is not because the rabbis didn't know how to do it right. But as we said, they purposely cloaked great, deep ideas in simple metaphors and riddles. Is that not big enough?
Yeah, I can read it fine.
No, I just couldn't see it was Mark.
You want to see what's Mark, because Mark's, you see his head is angled
I know.
in a way like Paul
There
is
you go. There you go.
Paul is face straight ahead.
It's on mute.
Which way?
Mark's got something, I don't know. It's like he's at a
Which way?
tilt.
Do you want me to? I don't know.
I can see Mark, okay?
In other words, we're all watching you.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
It's good. You're better. It's better than a black screen. We don't like black.
Hey, Paul, get back there.
Paul did the black screen.
Just joking,
Okay.
just joking.
Anyway, okay. So let's. We can all see it's large enough. Good.
It's good.
So now we're saying it's the fault is in the people who are not smart enough. So let's just give analogies that people can know the simple meaning. And if you really want to understand it, you got to be smart. You got to work on your brains, and then you got to pray to God that He gifts it to you.
Yeah.
So now he's going to give an analogy to this to make this believable. I'm going to give you a very nice parable. כגון שנשאל האיש מאנשי חוכמת הרפואה והחשבון והניגון ומור בחוכמת הטבע ונבוב ומשכיל והוא נער וריק מחוכמת התשבורת וחוכמת הכוכב. Okay, I bit off too much. I chew over here.
Yeah.
We're talking about we ask a person from the Anshe Chachmas. He's a very learned man in medicine, like let's say Dr. Martin. And he's also good in math. And he's good at music, and he's mar b'chachmas hateva, and he's swift in the natural sciences. V'navav u'maskil, and he's wise and learned. Would you say the guy's a pretty smart guy? Yeah, but v'reik, but he's deficient. Mechachmas hatishboras, from the wisdom of geometry, v'chachmas hakochavim, and astronomy. Those two things he's not good at. He doesn't know anything about geometry. Doesn't know anything about astronomy. Zippo zilch nada. He's great in math. Mamish multiplication, knows his tables backwards and forwards. He knows everything. But geometry is that sine, cosine, tangent.
Yes,
I
yes.
think so.
That is right.
Doesn't know anything about sine, cosine, tangent. Astronomy.
That's trigonometry, isn't it?
What?
Geometry is shapes.
Shapes, but I think it's also sine, cosine, tangent.
I thought that was trigonometry.
Okay, that's even beyond geometry.
But it's part of
Okay, but it's part of geometry. Okay, but that type of math and that type of science he doesn't know. Now, they're going to say to him, what would you say? If a person would make the following claim, we ask Dr. Martin, what would you say if a person, I don't know if Martin knows so much geometry and astronomy, we're going to assume he doesn't, just for the sake of the story. Okay, so now we say to Martin, can you believe if a person would say, Shaguf Hashem Sharem? Now let's take a look. Now this is in the Rambam's times, okay? That we take a look at the mass of the sun, Shonaroi. Now when we look at the sun today, how big does it look to your eye? Agula Ketana, it's a small circle, right? And V'yomar, we're going to say, Shu Guf Kadur V'godol, to say number one, the mass is a sphere. V'godol HaKadur, and the size of the sphere, Hahu, Kigodol Kadur Aretz, it's as big as the earth, but no. Meya V'shishim V'shisha Pam, Ushloisha Shmini Pam, it is 166.38375 times the size of the square of Earth.
Sphere.
The sphere of the Earth.
Well, it says that Rambam knew the earth was round.
Uh-huh.
Remember we had that question before.
Yeah. The Kader Aretz. And what is the sphere? What do you got? The circumference of the earth. And we figured out Ukadur Sheish Bekefo. How big is it? The circumference of the earth. Arba ve'esrim elef mil. 24,000 Roman miles. Okay, now guys, quick, get your computers out. What is the circumference of the earth? Okay, you're gonna give it to me in a minute, guys. And now we're saying it's 166.37 times larger than that. See that little spot in the sky? That little spot, that's called the sun. You see planet Earth? I'm standing on it. It goes as far as I can see in every direction. And the fact is, it's a circle.
But wait,
And it's 24,000 Roman miles. And the sun is 166.37 times bigger than that. Okay? And now we can know how big the sun is as soon as Mark or Paul finds out what the circumference of the earth is.
24,850 miles.
What? 24,000?
850 miles.
850 miles.
so he knew it.
24.
He probably went around the world.
So, okay, now, okay, do this now, Shelley, or whoever's out there. Take 24,000, multiply it by 166.375. Okay, and tell me, look what the circumference of the sun is. Okay, we'll let you guys play with that for a while. What?
Times what?
24,000 times 166.375. Okay,
3,993,000.
okay, but like 4 million, yeah?
Yeah.
Now find circumference of the sun.
What's the circumference of the sun, Sean?
Okay, I got all my,
Yeah,
Ron knows. What's the circumference of this?
no way, we said the circumference of the earth, and he said it's 166 times the circumference.
okay, I just want to know if it's true.
What's the circumference
Yeah,
of the
oh,
sun?
you want me to check it?
Yeah, what's
Ah,
the circumference of the sun?
I see Mark's looking, he's looking,
Yeah, but
Paul's
I-
looking, I got no
William
answers.
Tomorrow.
William Shatner, what's happening?
He's going to-
Okay. Any answers, or we're just gonna go ahead?
No, it's just a second.
Just a second.
The circumference of the sun is what is it, 7 million.
The circumference of the sun is 7 million?
No, Shelley says, what is it, Shelley?
No, it's 4.379 million kilometers.
That's kilometers. That's kilometers.
Oh,
That's kilometers.
Wait, Shelley, are you miles or kilometers?
I was in miles and now I moved to kilometers.
wait a minute,
So you have to- so multiply by 1.6.
Wait a minute. We had 24,000 miles was the circumference of the earth?
The mean radius of the sun is 432,450 miles. That's the radius.
Right, so you have to double it.
Damn it, that's.
I wanna-
But that's a radius.
Oh, but they 2 pi r.
Right, radius is 2 pi r, right?
Correct.
But just look for the
Okay.
circumference.
Okay, anyway, we're not wasting too much time.
It's 7 million miles.
7 million
circumference.
miles.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, we'll have to figure it out. Okay, we have to work
And
on
the
that.
volume, he's way off. The volume is about 1.3, about 1.3 million Earths could fit in the sun.
Okay, fine. Either way, what's the point of the Rambam? The sun is enormous, correct?
Yes, it's big.
Would you say that the sun is enormous?
It's huge.
Now, what is your Martin? You took a look at the sun today?
I did. Well,
How
with
big
sunglasses.
was the sun?
Not that
I think
big.
about 2 inches.
It's not that big.
It was about 2 inches.
About a quarter.
And you're telling
25
me
cents.
what? It's like 4 million miles? Are you out of your mind? And Martin's a smart guy,
Yeah, it's too
but he
big.
doesn't know trigonometry and he doesn't know
How sun-
astronomy.
Yeah.
And he's Suffolk, there's no doubt. Shahu, this man, Dr. Levin,
Right.
Zacharayim,
How
who has
much?
clear thought. Asher he's skilled in achachos komar shamarnu. He knows all the wisdom we said. Well, you must have been somebody. He cannot believe this fact. And this is totally unfathomable to him.
Wow, can't believe it.
Now, v'hataina asichlis tavolo b'tchilas ha'machshava. So the first question he's going to come that comes to his mind, shataina zos betela. This claim is nonsense. How is it possible for a man standing, a spanning a zeros is like a span of a finger, like this, that all I take only this much space on the earth, right? Sure, garam hashemesh, that a man standing on one span, how's he going to know the size of the mass of the sun? Kefo and its circumference, umida shitcha, and all its surface, that he can encompass it all, like he encompasses a measure, the part of the earth. How much space do you even know on earth? And you're going to tell me you know what the sun is and how big it is. But Odyomer, he's also going to say, how is this possible? Garam Hashemesh, the mass of the sun, it's so far away. Even if you see the mass of the sun, let's say, somehow you have an idea. The only we really can know is its rays, but not it. How can it be so precise to even 3/8 of a Roman mile? That's far. There's no doubt in Dr. Levin's mind, this Narishkeit, it cannot be.
Wow.
Would you say that Martin's correct from his perspective?
From my perspective.
Absolutely. So I said, Martin, how about we will learn geometry, trigonometry, and we're going to learn some astronomy. But he's going to learn to study the books of measurements and wisdoms, to know the measurements of these spheres, and others, things that are evaluated once against another. And then he takes an organized book that's similar to this. To understand the properties of the planets, how you do in the Sefer Al-Magasti. Okay, it's all well known in the Sefer of Al-Magasti. I don't know who that
Big
is.
seller? Was it a big seller?
Must have been a big
Can
astronomer.
you get it on Amazon?
I don't know who Al-Magasti
Okay.
is. What?
I was looking for it on Amazon.
I'm not.
It's gonna show up
I'm
the
trying to
rabbi's
see
house.
in my what do you call it here? Okay, Al-Magasti is written by Talmi. Does that make sense? It's the Al-Magasti is the name of the book.
Yeah.
And it's written by Ptolemy.
The Almagest is a 2nd century Greek language mathematical astronomical treatise by.
Okay, so now he reads that. Then this claim becomes very clear. He knows, yeah, it's really true. And there's no doubt about it. And I can prove it to you geometrically, trigonometry, astrologically. I can prove it all to you. Said to him, it doesn't make a difference if the mass of the sun is this size. Or if the sun is existing. And he'll get his mind accustomed to believing something that he originally thought was too far to understand. And he has complete belief that it's a completely true statement. Now, we all agree to that? All was missing was the knowledge.
You can get the book for $113.
Really?
Kindle. Kindle.
Okay.
Up to about-
Okay. Now, and this can be. And we did not, talk about a man who didn't know other wisdoms. He's a smart guy. We're talking to a smart guy. And the question we asked from him was a question of scholars, which is really only one more step till we get to godliness. In other words, there's steps of intellectual understanding. You got the more, we'll call the physical sciences, and then you got, what do we call it, the abstract sciences. Would that be a good word for that? I don't know. Does that make sense to call geometry and these things more of an abstract trigonometry? It's not abstract. What do you call
I don't know, but they're practical. They're used by people.
it? I
every day.
understand, but abstract and lab means like it's
Maybe,
just hard to conceive of.
Maybe.
Like a doctor could see a germ, could see something in the body. I can see it. I feel it. I can observe it. It's easy. But now you have to take a quantum leap intellectually. That's the idea. It is compared to the physical sciences more abstract. But that's just taking you another step to spiritual concepts, which is on another plane of Chachma. So now, if Dr. Levin will admit that he doesn't know what's going on, but if we educate him, he'll figure it out. So now let's talk about any local yokel who's looking at a piece of Agada to Gemara. Kal v'chomer, all the more, someone doesn't have any real wisdom at all. And hasn't got accustomed to any ways of wisdom. But rather he's gone from the intellect of his mother to the intellect of his wife. Not a very politically correct statement. Okay, in other words, not into, the mother is how to raise the kid, the wife is how to take care of the family, which is all nice things. And really, we could say there's a lot of psychology involved in it, but we'll just talk about the physical part of doing this, which is not very highly mentally taxing, so to speak. So now, now we're going to talk about divine questions, theological questions. They're hidden in all these homiletics. Wouldn't you say without a doubt that it's so far like the distance of heaven to earth? The Akatzer Sichlo, and his mind is way too small to understand what's going on. So can't you admit that it's possible that we're talking about divine concepts here and people have no understanding at all, that maybe the problem is on the learner's end and not on the author's end? Valkain, therefore, he concludes on this topic. He says, let's judge these homilies favorably, and that we have to investigate them very well. And don't be quick to dismiss them. But if it's far-fetched in our eyes, some of their words, how about if we train ourselves in these wisdoms? Let's learn Sifrei Kabbalah. Until you understand the concepts in it. If we can incorporate this big thing into our hearts, okay? Because even the wise men, the big scholars, they really wanted to learn. And they got good brains, and they make effort, and a good group of pious friends, and that are honorable. And they distance themselves from all the physical pleasures in the world. And they're really trying, and they don't understand it. And what would they say? Because they figure it's a problem in themselves when they compare themselves to who were before them. And Amar in the Gemara is because I don't know what the Tana was talking about. And these are people who are really smart. Umar Shaman is a famous Gemara in Erevin. Lima Mishal Rishonim, the earlier generation, were Kapisco Shalulam, were like the openings of a hallway. Shalachronim and the later generations are filu kemechet stucking. They're not even like the needle, the eye of a needle. And now let's go hundreds of years, thousands of years later to us. What about us? That wisdom has disappeared from us. And it's like the prophet tells us it says, "Va'avda chachmas chachamav ubinas navonav tishtas there," and the wisdom of the wise is lost, and the understanding of the sages will vanish.
It's interesting. There's an extra word in the.
Okay, it
it's-
could be.
It's nifsaka vena'atra.
Okay.
Okay.
So yachad hakosov yiched hakosov kolech menu barbot. The Torah identified each of us in 4 ways in this pasuk. There's 4 reasons why we can't. We're not even like a pinhole. Number 1, bechula shasasech. Number 1, we have a weak intellect. Why? Because we keep watching movies and we keep doing, all things that are shortening our attention spans. And this is in the Rambam's days. Okay? And the physical lusts. That's where our focus, our minds are on our lusts. And the laziness of looking for wisdom. And how quick we want to make money. Oh boy. Our bush, of haroim. These are 4 bad afflictions. Why can't we assume that the deficiency is in our souls? When we compare ourselves to them. Now, therefore, since the tzaddikim, they knew all this was going to happen. And they knew that the earlier rabbis, the later rabbis, knew that the words of the earlier rabbis were clear, vinikim and clean. There's no dross. They commanded nobody should laugh, no mock them. For Amr and the Gemara in Gittin says, anyone who mocks the words of the sages, be judged in burning excrement. Whew. The worst burning excrement is foolishness. That brings the person to mock others. Mamish. So when you watch that Colbert idiot or his other people, you should hold your finger to your nose and say it smells like a you know what.
Oh, no.
The language they would use. I won't use it. That's what it is. All that. They're mocking. It's all, that's the manure pit. Fried manure pits. Fresh off the grill. Okay? You're gonna find nobody's gonna distance their words except a person who wants lust. He gives more precedence to want to increase his physical pleasures. And therefore he's never been enlightened with these bright lights. And since they knew the truth of their words, so they spent all their days on this. They commanded others to pour over it all night and part of the day. And they considered it the end of wisdom, the highest point of wisdom. And so it is. And now he's going to give you an example of that, but it's 10 o'clock. It's going to give you an example of a chazal that says, Hashem doesn't have in his world except the 4 amas of Allah. What's that supposed to mean?
We're going to find out.
He's going to explain it tomorrow. Same bat
I have
time.
a
Same
question.
We got any math? What? Go
I have
ahead.
a question.
Yeah.
The first part about the astronomy and not believing it because you're not well versed, does that mean that people shouldn't dismiss evolution out of hand just because they think it's ridiculous?
No, you can look at what he says. And if you have any real scientific mind, you'll know that it's ridiculous. You know what? Give us your argument and we'll refute it because Chachma refutes it. You'll listen to it. So, but there's so many questions that they don't have answers to. How does it change, 7 million different changes, and how do you know there weren't any accidents? How did it breathe before it had lungs? Well, I don't know. Okay. They don't have answers to the questions. And they themselves won't be able to explain. What's his name? Who's guy?
Dawkins?
No, the original guy. No.
Darwin.
Did he use such mathematical equations? No, he did a svara from his head. That's all. He observed some monkey someplace, whatever. I forgot what he was observing. And he made
Hypothesis.
theories, hypotheses. Shkoyach. He didn't know nothing. Well, but he's a scientist because I observe. Shkoyach. I guess there's a lot of scientists in the sports stadiums because they observe. They observe a lot of behaviors. Now that's okay. No, we'll say, yeah, Adarabba, tell us everything. Tell us everything. And show us what we're missing of our scientific background that Darwin didn't have any in his time. Okay, shkoyach. Excellent. Have a great night, everybody.
It's quite-